All right, we've been having a bit of a truth and reconciliation moment around the table here. You know, we're getting that.
I don't know if there's so much reconciliation.
Exactly.
All right. Not a truth.
Change of topic. Since the 1980s, one of the biggest arguments in economics was about something called the Laffer Curve, named for Ronald Reagan's economic advisor, Art Laffer, who proved that if you cut taxes, you actually get more government revenue by boosting economic activity. For years, Democrats bitterly contested this as a con trick. Well, guess what happened in the California Assembly the other week? Democrats worried that cannabis legalization hasn't boosted the cannabis economy as they promised, now want tax cuts on the cannabis industry. And guess what they used to justify it? Yes, unbelievably, the Laffer Curve. They literally did that. All right, so who better to break all this down than the man himself, Dr. Art Laffer, who I spoke to earlier. Art, thank you so much for joining us. And just before we start, I just want to say what an absolute honour and thrill it is to have you here. When I was studying economics at Oxford in the late 1980s, you were already a legend then. I can barely believe it's really you, and we're having this conversation.
And what a great topic to have, too. I mean, here we're talking about marijuana, an academic professor. You're out in California. I can just see Spicoli on the front lawn of Ridgemont High right now doing a doobie. Well, isn't it wonderful life?
It's amazing, isn't it? So what do you make of it? So finally, well, after all these years, when it's something that they really care about, the Democrats embrace the Laffer Curve. What do you make of it?
Hypocrisy knows no bounds. It knows no bounds whatsoever. It's obviously true. The curve works really well. I wrote a book about 5 or 6 years ago on tobacco taxation theory and practice, and the Laffer Curve abounds all over in tobacco taxation as well, and now they find it in California. It's amazing. I mean, if you lower the tax on cannabis, you're going to get snack revenues coming up high because everyone will get the munchies. I mean, it's perfect.
And so, well, while we're here, you know, and to get a little bit more serious, I just wanted to get your take on the broader questions of what's going on around the tax debate right now, because it feels like we're going right back to almost to where you came into it, and we're seeing this very, very strong demands for high and punitive taxation coming from the left now. But it is in response to something which I think a lot of people really feel, which is this sense that you've got growing inequality, and so you've got quite high numbers of people actually agreeing with these very high tax rates. What do you think of that? Do you think the inequality is a real problem that we need to solve somehow? And what would your approach be?
Inequality is a real problem. We need to try to solve it, but you don't solve it with higher taxes. The most unequal areas in the world were under the Soviet Union and all of these socialist states. That's where all the government officials get all the wealth and everyone else is totally poor. You know, whenever you raise taxes on the rich, you get lower tax revenues. I mean, it happened with Harding and Coolidge. It happened with Kennedy. It happened with Reagan. It happened. I mean, it's just amazing that this is just a common sense there. But whenever you try to redistribute income, Steve, you always lower total income. And if you go to 100% of redistribution, where everyone comes out exactly the same, if we tax all that, we tax everyone who makes above the average wage, 100% of the excess, subsidize everyone below the average income up to the average income, so everyone comes out equal, I'll guarantee that everyone will come out equal at zero. And that's the problem with this inequality, is you lower the top, you don't raise the bottom. Our problem is poor people, not rich people. And we need to help the poor get richer, not to make the rich poor.
There you go. I love it. So let's just focus on that important priority. So just set out some of the measures that you would like to see implemented to lift people up, exactly as you said.
Well, I did a candidate's tax system who was a governor of California, Jerry Brown. When he ran, I was his economist, and we did a broad-based flat tax. We got rid of all federal taxes, all of them, and got rid of the income tax, the corporate tax, capital gains tax, the unearned income tax. We got rid of Medicare, Medicaid taxes, payroll taxes, everything, and had 2 flat-rate taxes, one on business net sales and one on personal unadjusted gross income at 13%. That was it. It was much better than the no Laffer Curve effect. And Jerry Brown went from 8th in the race in the Democratic primary to 2nd. We would have beaten Clinton had it not been for a faux pas of his, but that's the right tax to do.
And just a very quick last point, what about business taxes? That when I was working in government, that was a priority for me. If you want to encourage jobs and wealth creation, business tax reform is a priority. What do you think? Where do we stand? Have we gone far enough?
Yeah, remember, businesses don't pay taxes, people do. Businesses do collect taxes, and they do a very good job of it. So I would have a flat tax on business net sales and on personal unadjusted income, no deductions, no exemptions, no exclusions. Everyone pays the same tax rate. If you make 10 times as much as I do, you're going to pay 10 times as much in taxes. And that's the way it should be, and then you'll have a really efficient system, and we double GDP in 5 years.